So you're the guitar player in the band, you're also the sound man from stage in the band, and now you find yourself being the light man. And so you have to deal with a DMX. This sort of thing happens to guitar players. So let me give you a brief introduction to DMX, especially if you're using one of these $50 controllers. Let's go.
Okay, here is your typical $50 eBay DMX lighting controller. And the trick with this DMX stuff is you have to configure your lights to match the controller, not the other way around. You don't configure the controller to match the lights. So let's take a look at this thing. Over here you have your scanner buttons. Scanners is another word for your light fixtures, your pars and your pin spots and whatever you got plugged into at DMX. So this particular controller can control 12 different devices. Now that can be deceptive because you can tie a bunch of devices together under each one of these buttons if you'd want to. But if you wanted everything to be separate, you could do 12 of them. So when you select one of these buttons, if I select number 1, I'm selecting the first light fixture. Looking here, you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16. These are the channels. So this board supports 12 light fixtures. Each light fixture can have 16 channels, and channels tell the light to do different things. Turn on the red, turn on the green, turn on the strobe flasher, or whatever. So let me figure out here. If we got 12, let me get out my phone calculator, 12 channels times 16, or 12 devices times 16 channels, that makes this a 192 channel controller, which is what it said on eBay when I bought it. Okay, so to configure your lights for this, okay, your first light fixture, the one that's going to come up under channel 1, is going to be the first 16 channels. So you're going to want to configure that for channel 1. And on your light fixtures, you'll see when I show the light fixtures in a minute, you'll either see an A for address or a D for DMX. And in my case, it's A for address. So I want to program my first light as A001, okay? And that means when I push this button right here, all these channels will affect that light. Now, in my case, since I'm using a 6-channel fixture, only these first 6 sliders will do anything. Yes, we'll see in a moment. Okay, but I have to configure that first light as channel 1. When I go to the second light, when I want to go to the second figure, I've already used 1 through 16, so I'm going to address that second fixture as A0017, or yours might be D0017, okay? That means that the channels on that would be 17 through whatever 16 plus that is. Well, be through 32. 17 through 32. Okay, so that one I would address as A0017, and that's the next group of 16 channels. For fixture number 3, since I've already used up to 32, its address would be A0033. Okay, and then it would take up another 16 channels. And when I get to fixture number 4, it would be A0049 if I did the math right in my head. Let's take a look at those fixtures and see how we did. The other thing on the board here, these are the scenes. You're going to want to learn how to use those. That's really what you'll use when you have this thing set up. I don't even mess with any of this stuff over here, other than the bank selector sometimes, and the blackout. Somewhere in here there's a blackout thing. But that's what you got to do. You got to configure your lights to match your controller. So let's take a look at the lights. So let's look at the addressing on the fixtures, and you'll notice my fixture 1, I have it 001, the next one 017, the next one 033, and the fourth one is 049, as we stated before. So they are configured to the controller.
Okay, I'm going to select fixture 3. And then these are the channels. Now these are 6-channel fixtures. The first channel is almost always an intensity, how bright the light is. So you're going to want to leave that up. Second one is one of the colors. In this case, it's red. The third one is green. Fourth one is blue. And the fifth one would be the white LEDs that are in this. And the 6th channel is just some kind of crazy flashing thing that it does. And you'll find with these sliders a lot of times, like when you first select some, even if you have them on, and you first select it, nothing happens. You got to jiggle these sliders, and then it comes to life. And if you change to a different fixture, again, you got to jiggle the sliders to get them to come on. If you want stuff to happen instantaneously, you're going to have to program scenes, and I can talk about that in another video if there's any interest.
Now, I know it's a pain in the neck to have to learn how to do this, especially when you're learning songs and everything else, but somebody's got to do it. It might as well be the guitar player. It's definitely worth picking up some DMX skills and getting one of these $50 controllers. Everything you see in this video going on here, all the lights, are controlled by one of these $50 controllers. DMX fixtures are cheap these days too. You can get a lot of lights for not a lot of money. So it's worth putting in the effort. If you don't like reaching down to push a scene button on one of these controllers, they do make foot controllers. Anywhere from $40 to the sky is the limit. So you could get a foot controller if you wanted to. Do remember though that DMX is kind of clunky. The sliders, the faders on the DMX controller are really just for programming the scenes, not really for controlling the lights. And you do have to wiggle them around to get stuff to happen. So if you punch a button and nothing happens, jiggle those sliders. And remember, that first slider is probably the brightness or the intensity. Make sure that is pushed up. You might have to pull it down and push it up to get stuff to happen. You're going to want to learn how to program scenes. If there's any interest in that, put it in the comments. Let me know. I'd be happy to go through, at least on my controller, how that's done. And it's pretty much the same on all these cheap $50 controllers. All right, well, hope you had a good gig last night. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.